Hello, I'm going to read you Mr. Chatterbox today. Okay, I'm going to try and do this every week on a Thursday morning. Let's see how we get on. So this is the story of Mr. Chatterbox by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Chatterbox was one of those people who simply couldn't stop talking. He used to talk to anybody and everybody about anything and everything, going on and on and on. There's the picture of him chatting to the worm, and it's the sun's out. And on and on and on. Oh dear, it's getting a bit late now. The moon's out now, and the worm's getting a bit tired. And on and on and on. Oh, the sun's rising, and the worm's not very happy. He's still talking. And when he didn't have anybody else to talk to, he used to talk to himself. "Good morning, Mr. Chatterbox," he used to say to himself. "Good morning to you," he used to reply to himself. "Nice day, isn't it?" "Yes, it is for this time of year." And so on and on and so on and on and on. And there he is talking to himself. The worm's gone. He lived in a box-shaped house in a village Chatterbox cottage. There you are. He's got his fire on. There's smoke coming out. He's even got a square garden there. The rain might settle on the square roof a bit there. Anyway. One morning, a postman arrived with a letter for him. "Morning, Mr. Chatterbox," said the postman. "Ah, good morning to you, postman," replied Mr. Chatterbox. "Although, as I was saying to myself only yesterday, or was it the day before? I forget. However, it's not quite so good a morning in my opinion, but I might be wrong, although I'm not very often, as it was the other day, Monday I think, or perhaps it was Tuesday. But never mind, because it's quite a good morning, don't you agree?" "Yes, of course you do, because that's what you said to me in the first place." And he went on and on all morning, and the poor postman was late delivering all his letters. Oh dear. That afternoon, Mr. Chatterbox went into the hat shop in the village. "Hello, Mr. Bowler," he said to the man who owned the hat shop. "Do you think, if it's possible, that I could buy, if it's not too expensive, but I'm sure it won't be, a new hat, because, would you believe it? Yes, of course you would. But anyway, as I was saying, my present hat, the one on my head, as you can see, is getting, how can I put it, a little too old, because I've had it for, let me see now, it must be, let's think, 10 years? No, I tell a lie. It can't be that long, or can't it? Well, yes, it could be, but on the other hand," and he went on and on all afternoon and half the night, long after poor Mr. Bowler should have shut up shop and gone home. And look, Mr. Bowler seems to have Mr. Silly picture on, so he must do hats for Mr. Silly as well. Eventually, when Mr. Bowler managed to get a word in edgeways, or was it sideways, he promised to order a new hat for Mr. Chatterbox. Then he pushed Mr. Chatterbox out of his shop, still talking, of course, and went home for his supper, which was cold. Of course, Mrs. Bowler had cooked it for him hours ago, and while he ate, he thought. Well, there we go. Parting ways. Exactly 1 week later, the new hat for Mr. Chatterbox arrived in a smart red hat box. The postman delivered it to Mr. Bowler's shop. "At last," said Mr. Bowler, heaving a sigh of relief. "I think this hat is going to be the answer to the problem of Mr. Chatterbox talking so much." "I wish it could be," said the postman, "but how can it?" "Because," replied Mr. Bowler, "this hat is a magic hat." "Oh," replied the postman. He didn't quite understand. We'll find out. That same afternoon, Mr. Bowler took the new hat round to Chatterbox cottage. "Oh, goody," said Mr. Chatterbox, seizing the hat box and opening it. "It's my new hat, my lovely new hat. I couldn't wait for it to arrive. In fact, I got up early this morning because, aren't I silly? I just knew, I don't know how, but I really knew, that today would be the day. I don't know how I knew, but I knew, and it is. And here's my hat. I know, isn't it beautiful? I can't wait to try it. Oh, I do hope it suits me. Oh, do you think it will? Yes, of course you do. And why didn't you try it on?" said Mr. Bowler, grinning. There you are. Very excited, Mr. Chatterbox. "Try it on? Yes, of course, I must try it on. How silly of me to stand here chattering on when I haven't tried it on yet. Yes, I will. Absolutely. Definitely. Try it on straight away. Because, as I said, it's silly just to talk about trying it on and then not try it on, isn't it?" And so he took the hat out of the hat box and put it on. It was a beautiful hat. It seems to be orange. There you are. "I say," he said, "I must say, yes, I really must, that this hat is, yes, it really is, to say the least, one of the better hats that I have ever seen in my life. And in my life, I must say, I have seen some hats, and furthermore," and while he was talking, a funny thing was happening. The more words that came out of Mr. Chatterbox's mouth, the larger his hat became. The more Mr. Chatterbox talked, the more the hat grew and grew. So it got a bit bigger. Mr. Chatterbox kept on talking, and the hat kept on growing. "I can't see anything," he said. "One minute I was standing here looking at my new hat in the mirror, and now all of a sudden, without any warning, taking me all unawares, just like that." The hat grew down to his feet. Mr. Chatterbox stopped talking. There you are. And as soon as he stopped talking, the hat grew smaller and smaller until it was the same size as when he first tried it on. Mr. Bowler had gone when Mr. Chatterbox couldn't see him, and now he was walking back to his shop. "My special magic hat really works," he chuckled. And there you can see Mr. Chatterbox in the distance with the hat right down to his feet. And there's Mr. Bowler grinning away. I love the daisies in the flower box there. The following day, Mr. Chatterbox was out for a walk when he met the postman in the village. "Hello, postman," he said. "I say, do you like my new hat? Have you ever seen such a fine hat?" "I'm sure you never have. What a hat!" But you know what was happening, don't you? The hat grew and grew and grew, the more Mr. Chatterbox talked. "Now I know what Mr. Bowler meant by magic hat," chuckled the postman, and he went on his way, leaving poor Mr. Chatterbox speechless. He thought, thinking, not talking, thinking. There he is, having a chuckle. And do you know something? That hat taught Mr. Chatterbox his lesson, and these days he doesn't talk half as much as he used to, or even a quarter as much. And you know the reason for that, don't you? Yes, of course you do, but... Give it a wink. And there's that worm again. Keep it under your hat. There you are, so that's Mr. Chatterbox. I love the way the font carries on round. See, Roger Hargreaves didn't want to make the letters smaller for the longer worded Mr. Men. He just thought, I'll just curl it round. And it makes a very quirky text, but I like it. So that's Mr. Chatterbox, and I'll try and set up a time next week when to read a Mr. Man. I'll just show you one more thing. This is my new painting of the sunflowers. I've been inspired by the Mr. Men to draw. They're very good for drawing shapes and colour and outline. And with this one, which you could do yourself, is called finger painting. One of the tricks is not to muddy your colours too much. So you can have your green and you've got your yellow and your brown and gold, but try not to mix them too much, otherwise it turns grey and muddy. Also, another thing I've discovered is metallic acrylics, which is a lovely shiny thing, so it changes in the light when the sun catches it. I'm really pleased with this one. Also, I recommend when you've done a really good piece of work, which I'm proud of, get it mounted or put a frame around it, and it really smartens it up, makes it even more special. Okay, so let me know if you enjoyed this, and I hope I'll do it again next week. I'll choose another Mr. Man. Alright, bye for now.